Okay, we're back on the record on case number 2317423 DM, Ms. Schmelzer.
Thank you. Mr. Klusman, just as a reminder, even though we took a break, you're still under oath. I think where we left off was I was directing your attention to the previously admitted exhibit number 29, plaintiff's 29, as a text message string that occurred between you and Ms. Klusterman in April of 2023. In that exhibit, Ms. Klusterman testified to your text message admitting, so to speak, to addictions. Do you recall that testimony?
I do.
Okay. Can you please explain the context of the conversation that occurred with you and Ms. Klusterman and why you were making these statements?
I mean, I always try to diffuse the situation, but I don't really understand, which I would like to see you get some counseling for your addictions. I mean, maybe she's assuming I'm addicted to pornography or something like that.
Well, in the text message string, overall, were you even discussing the children in general in anything here in this?
No.
Okay. So would you say that this conversation was about your marriage, which in April of 2023 was rapidly deteriorating, so to speak?
Yes. Yeah, it was about our relationship and marriage.
Okay. We start with, I will always love you. Are you going to divorce me? You're an incredible wife. This is my fault. I know that. What's going on here? In April of 2023, was there an accusation that you were having an extramarital affair?
She accused me of having an emotional affair.
Did you admit to that affair?
Yeah, I text with people.
Were you having an extramarital affair in your opinion?
No, it was texting and communication and friends. I have females that are friends.
So is that the context of why this conversation was happening?
Yes.
Between you and Ms. Klusterman?
Yes.
And again, this was not something, at least from your perspective, you ever showed to the children or that the children were involved in this conversation?
No, kids were not involved, never read this. We never talked like this in front of the kids.
So in this, you're talking about your phone. Your phone is a problem. You're saying, I'll give up my phone. Mm-hmm. Why are you offering that?
To try to make our relationship and marriage work.
And why is the phone the thing that you believed at that time would make your relationship work?
Because Jen wanted access to all of my communication with anyone and everyone, and I said I would give up my phone and just do without if that would help us make things work.
And we already went through some testimony with her where she was texting you in April and May of 2023, demanding to see the Verizon account login and your text messages.
Mm-hmm.
And she made multiple demands in that time frame.
Yeah.
Okay. About 40 in the context of about a month.
That sounds pretty reasonable.
Okay. So that's what was going on in this time frame of April 2023, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I want to get down to like your statement. The phone has caused so many addiction issues, and her response, I would like to see you get some counseling for your addictions. Do you have an addiction?
No, I have friends. I have friends that talk, text a lot. It's with multiple people. That's what it is.
Has anybody in the mental health professional field ever diagnosed you with or even suggested that you have an addiction of any kind?
No.
In the context of this message, what specific addiction was being alluded to or addressed or discussed?
Jen just thought I was overly secretive with my phone. And
did she accuse you of being addicted to your phone?
Yeah, I mean, she has, yeah.
And you mentioned addicted to pornography.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, but I mean, she has told me I was, because
So when you said this phone has caused so many addiction issues, why were you saying that to Miss Klusterman if you're now saying you don't have any addiction issues?
to diffuse the situation, because for a long time in this, I wanted to try to make our marriage work. Um, I, I didn't want the kids to be in a broken home.
Um, and to the extent that she's accused you of being addicted to your phone or pornography, has she ever said that that affected your ability to parent your children?
No, no.
Um,
My kids come first in everything I do, and Jen knows that.
in April of 2023, were you trying to save your marriage?
Absolutely.
Were you willing to, at least at that time, go along with what Ms. Klusterman wanted?
I mean, to a certain extent.
To the extent that she said, you have an addiction, you were willing to say, okay, fine, I do. Let's move on with that.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't really believe you had an addiction.
No, I didn't have an addiction. I wanted to do what it took to try to get along and make things work. For the longest time, I thought it was best to try to make it work for the kids. And I'm sure Jen thought the same thing.
With respect to your phone usage or even pornography of any kind, have you ever not been present for your children or able to meet their day-to-day needs?
No, no. My kids are my world. I put them first in everything I do.
Um,
They are everything to me.
I'd like to direct your attention to plaintiff's previously admitted Exhibit 34 here. Pull that up. Ms. Klusterman presented this text message exchange from April of 2023 regarding discussing leaving your daughter's game early. Do you recall that testimony in that text message?
Yes, I do.
Did you leave that game early?
Yes, I did. And it was a softball game. It's always a doubleheader. I showed up towards the beginning of the first one and watched all of that, and then noticed Callie giving Jen some attitude, maybe taking exception to some coaching. I may have said some things directed at coaching too, or things that she could do better. For whatever reason, Callie was in a bad mood that day. Kind of gave Jen some attitude that I didn't agree with, gave me attitude, and she didn't seem to even want to be there. And I said I was kind of, if you don't want to be here, then why should I be here? But I watched some, but I left, and I'm not gonna. Jen's given her time to coaching her, and if she's gonna have an attitude and not give her best effort or take to Jen's coaching or my coaching if I'm the coach at that time, or trying to help her, then I'm gonna maybe go get dinner started or go back to work or help another child, but I mean, I think that's quite overblown.
Do you typically leave games early for your children?
No, no, that may honestly be the only time I ever have. There's nothing I'd rather do than watch my kids' sports. Obviously, I mean, Jen and I have always worked as hard as we can to give our kids every opportunity to do the things that they love, and I know Jen feels the same way, and we love watching our kids play the thing and do the things that they love.
And She testified that she felt like you were leaving set a poor example of support for your child. Do you agree that that's what happened that day?
No, I disagree with that.
Did you talk to your daughter about her performance that day? And you said her attitude.
Yeah, I definitely did, and I'm not going to support. I mean, in that situation, Callie, for one, needs to act like Jen's the coach and forget the fact that she's her mom and show the respect. We're only there to try to help her and support her and help her become the softball player, volleyball player, whatever sport it is. We're there to support her. But that day was kind of rare, Callie. And I decided that I wasn't going to stick around for that type of behavior.
But also in that text string, you left to go get dinner started. You stated, right? Was that dinner for the whole family?
Yes, absolutely.
So you didn't like leave to go to the casino or go drink at a bar or something like that?
No, it was to prepare dinner for when Jen and the girls came home and go on with our evening.
Did you feel like preparing dinner for the family was supporting your children's needs and interests as well?
Yes, absolutely.
And like you testified that was an isolated incident, that April game, right?
Yes.
Since then, have you attended games and sporting events for your children?
As many as possible. I mean, the PPO played a role in that. Some away games are too far for me to attend or can't afford to go or whatever, but we make everything that we can, try to.
Just away for now here. Ms. Klusterman alleged that you tell sexual or inappropriate jokes to the children. In her testimony, she used an example of a joke about a potato and IHOP. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes, I do.
Did you tell the children these jokes?
I did not, actually. We were out on Lake Leon. I was out on Lake Leon with the kids on Memorial Day with my cousin and his wife and some other families. And we were all hanging out, and it was actually one of the other families' 10-year-olds that told the kids those jokes.
Can you control every influence or everything that is said to or around your children as they're getting older and involved in social activities, have friends on sports teams, in school?
No, I can't control everything.
So sometimes your kids might hear inappropriate jokes from other parents or other kids or other places.
Right.
And the two specific examples she gave, it's your testimony that you didn't tell the kids those jokes.
I did not tell the kids those jokes. It was actually my cousin's 10-year-old daughter that told those jokes.
Ms. Klusterman alleged that your son Calvin likes to work with you in landscaping in the summer months and wants to earn money. But her testimony was that you did not always pay him. Is that true?
I mean, maybe when he was younger, I didn't pay him, but we also pay a lot of money into his activities. But this summer, I actually did pay him, gave him some of the money he earned. The rest of it is under control of my mother right now. The kids have bank accounts with the kid and Jen's name on them because I'm working on getting my mortgage. My mortgage guy told me do not open any bank accounts, buy anything. So I cannot open a bank account with my name and Kelvin's name on it. So my mom is currently under control of that money.
I mean, it's being held for Calvin.
Yeah, as soon as I can open that savings account for him, that's where it's going. Kelvin knows that. He's been made aware of that. I still give Kelvin some spending money. I still advise Kelvin that we shouldn't just spend all of it, that we should try to save it, trying to create good spending habits and all that. But no, Kelvin is being rewarded for the work that he is doing.
During the summer, this last summer, 2023, did Miss Klusterman allow Calvin to go work with you on the weeks she had the children?
No, she did not.
Even though her testimony was that Calvin likes to work with you to earn money.
Yes, he very much does, and that was a tough situation because then Calvin was not happy about that situation, and I mean, and that was Jen's decision, and he needs to go by what she says.
During her testimony, Ms. Klusterman discussed that gifts are her love language, which is fine. I think you said that in your testimony too.
Absolutely.
Do you recall that she testified about a Lululemon bag that the children gave her, and she was really excited about that because gifts are her love language?
Yes.
Do you know anything about that Lululemon bag?
I do. I bought that bag. I took the girls to the Lululemon store and picked that out and paid for that, and they were very excited about that.
And it seems Ms. Klusterman was also excited to receive that.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well, since she brought it to the attention of the court to testify. Right. She received that. Okay. Right. Going in the kind of vein of gifts are her love language, was there a private and personal marital sort of banter between you and her about gifts and money in your
yes.
private marital relationship?
Yes.
Okay. Was that between the two of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the kids.
Ms. Klusterman alleged sort of that you would demand sexual favors in exchange for gifts, things, money. Is that true?
I mean, I offered. I wouldn't demand it. I never demanded anything, and Jen made just as many of those offers to me as I did to her.
Did she solicit by asking for things and offering to do sexual favors?
Absolutely. That was a playful thing between Jen and I.
Okay. And did you feel that was responding to her gifts are my love language issue in a way? Like she was asking for, okay. I want to be really clear. At any time, did Ms. Klusterman not have access to the money and the finances of the marriage?
Jen always had access to all of our money, bank accounts, anything.
So if there was ever, buy me this thing, she could have gone and bought it for herself, right?
Yeah. I mean, we would have discussions about not spending money, but no, she always had the opportunity to buy it. I didn't control that.
Was there even an issue during the marriage that Miss Klusterman would take money from the business bank account of Klusterman Landscaping Business without telling you?
Yeah, it happened.
So she had access even to your business bank account.
Yes.
And she's not part of the business.
Well, not anymore.
I mean, that was your employment, so to speak, during the marriage. She was employed elsewhere.
Was since we've separated.
Right, but during the marriage, she wasn't operating the business in the sense of managing it, working it. She had her own.
Yeah, she helped when she was available.
But she had her own job.
Yeah, she had her own job.
Okay, and that was how you earned money for your family, right?
Correct.
And she had access to even that account.
Correct.
So to the extent that it was, I'll buy you this or give you this amount of money, she could have taken it.
Absolutely. I never restricted her.
And did she actually take money out of bank accounts when she wanted it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She never lacked access to any of the marital funds.
No, she had access to everything.
Ms. Klusterman claimed that you work late in the summer months, often until dark. Is that true?
That's pretty broad statement. The only time if the kids have a sporting event or the kids want to go boating or something like that, I am always done when those things want to be done. The times where I work till dark might be a Thursday night because we're leaving Friday as soon as I'm done to go to Mackinac Island or for a sporting event. But if the kids had anything going as far as sports, I never missed any of those games. I would only work longer hours the night before, the night after, or you know, when we returned from Mackinac Island or whatever, I always did whatever I had to do to make those trips happen. And sometimes I had to work till dark, but if it was something where the kids and Jen wanted to go boating or do something with friends, I always chose to do those things. And then just maybe the next night had to put in more hours to get my work done. But we played pretty hard as a family, and Jen and I both did everything that we could to make those things happen for the kids.
And this last summer, did you did you adjust your work schedule based on when you had the kids in your care versus not?
I sure did.
So were you working late nights and into the dark hours of the day when you had your kids in your care this summer?
Never. I would actually, when I get the kids at 6 p.m. on Sunday, knowing that I would work long hours Friday, work all day Saturday, work all day Sunday, and then I would maybe take Monday off, take Tuesday off. But I never worked long hours when I had the kids. It's always when the kids were with Jen, I was working those hours to create time to make time for the kids and do the things that they want to do. And we had days during the week where we went boating all day because I was able to work and get those things done on the weekend or whatever, or when they went back to Jen.
In the winter months, does work slow down for you?
Yes, it's very inconsistent. When it snows, I work. When it doesn't, I don't.
What do you do when work slows down in the winter months?
I clean the house, do the laundry, all the things that need to be done around the house, make the dinners. I'm more likely to make dinner that time of year than in the summertime. More time to help take the kids to their appointments, things like that, whatever needs to be done. But yeah, I always made sure the house was clean when they were coming home, and spent my day doing those things.
And in the winter, Miss Klusterman was still working.
Right. Yep.
So you were at home kind of doing those things for the family and the
Right,
kids.
right.
Okay.
And when the kids were not in school, I mean, it was the same way. I was home cleaning the house, taking care of the kids, all of that stuff while she was working.
Do you miss sporting events for your children so that you can be at work?
No, I don't. I always stop to be at those events. Even this fall, Calvin played in a hockey game, and I remember right, the PPO was still on at that point, and I didn't feel comfortable being in an ice rink with Jen. And Calvin said, "Hey, we play games that this time," and I took the kids boating in between. I'm sorry. Yeah, I took the kids boating in between. I stopped work to take the kids wakeboarding, some of his teammates and him, and then went back to work. But I only missed the games when the PPO and I didn't feel comfortable being around Jen.
Do you coach for your children?
Yeah, I do.
What teams do you coach?
At one point or another, I've coached all of them in baseball, softball. I've done football, we've done volleyball and basketball and everything. Yeah, this summer I coached the youngest, Kelsey's softball team.
Ms. Klusterman claimed in her testimony that you're too hard on the children with respect to sports, that you disparage and belittle them. Do you feel that you do that?
I don't belittle them. No, with the girls, it's positive all around. I mean, they like to be pushed, but it's never negative or what you did wrong. It's great job. Calvin, on the other hand, he is very driven. He wants to know what he does wrong, so he can be better. I mean, he wants to be the best, and so we push him. Jen does the exact same thing that I do. He likes to know what he does wrong. He likes to be pushed. He absolutely wants to be the best, and he would tell you that he wants us pushing him.
And is that why you've maybe had tougher conversations with Calvin about sports?
Absolutely. He wants to know what he didn't do right. He wants to be pushed.
And you observed Miss Boosterman doing that as well?
Yeah. I mean, she knows that he wants to be pushed, and she pushes him. And but I've never pushed the girls like that because I know that they don't want that. It's just different with them. I can read them. There's actually times that with Callie playing hockey, I've asked Jen to cool it because she will push a little harder than what I think Callie wants. Yeah, I mean, Jen knows that the kids want to be pushed and want to be, the best that they can be. But I mean, I know she thinks that I push him a little hard, but I think he would tell you that that's what he wants. I only want the best for him. It's not like I'm mad. I'm not mad at him. I'm helping him and trying to help him be the best that he can be because that's what he wants. His ultimate goal is to play college football or college hockey. He wants to be the best on the team, whatever team that is. And I feel like I help him do that. And Jen does too. She wants him to be the best and wants his goals to come to fruition.
So I want to talk about Exhibit 19, which was a video and audio recording between you and Miss Boosterman, where you were in the bedroom. Do you recall that video?
I do.
Okay, that was the one that we had to go off the record to view. One moment, please. There's Charlie. Come on. Come see my girl. Charlie wants to be part of that conversation. There we go. Apologize. So Exhibit 19. I want to ask you about that. You recall that video? That was the one we had to go off the record to talk about and view. Okay, that was you and Miss Boosterman in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
In Miss Boosterman's testimony, she claimed children were in the room during that discourse between you and her. Do you recall her testifying to that?
I do.
Was that true?
There was no children in the room.
And based on the video we saw, we didn't see any children in the video, did we?
No.
We didn't hear any other voices than yours and Miss Boosterman's.
Correct.
Did you feel that that was a private conversation between you and your wife at that time?
Absolutely.
Um,
I try very hard to not have arguments, any adult conversations in front of the children.
Would you have said the things that you say in private to your wife as adults? Would you say those things in front of your children?
No, absolutely not.
Her testimony that one of your daughters was coming in and out of the room or was in the room. Not true?
Not true. Not true.
Did you believe your children were even in earshot while that conversation was happening?
No, because if we're having a conversation like that, the door's closed.
Miss Boosterman appeared unclothed in that video. Is it common for her to walk around without clothes on in front of all of the children?
I mean, it's been a common occurrence with Calvin getting a little older. It's kind of stopped in front of him, or she at least makes sure she's faced the other direction, which I still don't love, but she's, I understand her mindset, but I don't always agree with what she says why she does that. But.
We already we talked about the parental restrictions on the phone. So I'd like to turn your attention to defendant's proposed Exhibit A. Do we need to screen share that, or I know it's been a while, but I previously shared that with the court and opposing counsel.
I'll let you handle it. If there are issues, you can handle it however you'd like.
Well, I'm just pulling this up for my client, so one moment here. So So I need to go through some, Defendant's Exhibit A is a series of pictures and images to lay a foundation. I need to go through those with my client. I have it up on my screen. Again, I don't know if the court would prefer to share a screen or if we're all just independently viewing it.
Your Honor, and I will stipulate that these are pictures of the defendant and the children so that we can kind of fast forward the foundation part of it. I don't have any issues with them coming in or any foundation issues.
Well, then I'd move to admit Exhibit A.
That's fine.
All right, it's admitted.
Thank you.
We can go through them, but we've got 2 minutes, so we're breaking for lunch, so.
Okay, would we like to break now and then I can ask questions about these pictures? Or would we like me to go through the pictures and then break?
I'm okay with whatever.
Okay, because I think I might need more than 2 minutes, but I
Oh,
shouldn't.
no, I wasn't suggesting that you had a 2-minute time frame. It was whether you wanted to use these 2 minutes to ask and then we come back. We can
Okay.
I wasn't going to put a 2-minute time frame on your presentation. All right, so I will. All right, we're back on the record on case number 2317423DM. Ms. Schmelzer.
Thank you. I believe we left off with that Defendant's Exhibit A had been admitted, and I have some questions for my client regarding the admitted exhibit. Does everyone have that before them?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Kuzman, we took a short break for lunch. I just want to remind you, you are obviously still under oath. Where we left off was Exhibit A. And so I'm just going to ask you some questions about those images that are seen there. Can you kind of describe what images are seen on this first page?
I mean, that's me. Obviously, taking a picture, holding each. The bottom one is Kelsey. Callie's at the top. That's.
How old were they in these pictures? About?
I mean, it looks like Callie might be 10, maybe 9, somewhere in there. Kelsey's probably 5, 6, something like that.
And what kind of things were you guys doing? Activities or whatnot when these pictures were taken?
Well, that's the big pony on the top up at Mackinac Island. I'm guessing maybe around a fire or something with Kelsey. Or 4th of July, maybe doing with the light stuff, but that's pretty standard stuff of me loving on the girls like that.
Okay. Page 2, another group of pictures. What's going on, here? What are these pictures?
The top 2 are 4th of July Cherry Festival stuff. The bottom one is at Barton's. Kids like to ride their bikes from the house to Barton's. That's one of the favorite things about where we live, our area where we live, and obviously, what kid doesn't love ice cream? So we do that quite often.
And how old in the top 2 pictures? Cherry Fest, 4th of July. About how old were the kids there?
Calvin looks maybe 8 or 9, 10, somewhere in there. Kelsey's 4 or 5, somewhere in there.
The lower picture, about
the
how
lower
old?
picture's probably 2 years old. Maybe a couple of years old, few years old.
Okay. And moving on to the third page now. Can you share what those pictures are of?
The top one was from this summer, taking the kids flying in my dad's airplane.
This last summer.
Yeah.
And the bottom picture.
The bottom one's obviously when the kids are real little, just mowing the yard. They obviously wanted to help me out and be with me and help me in any way they could.
And is that in that bottom picture, is that Kelvin?
Yeah, that's Calvin and Callie.
And how old about were they at that age?
Calvin had to have been 4 or 5, would be my guess.
Moving on to the 4th page here, these pictures. you kind of describe what, how old the kids are, what's going on?
Just doing the things they love, being a part of their life. The top one's Pirates Cove. Calvin always loved to do the go-karts. The bottom one's, fishing, sledding at my parents' house. Obviously, these pictures are when the kids are pretty young. Just they love doing the things that they love to do.
Okay. About how old would Calvin be in that top picture of the go-kart?
Maybe 5.
And the sledding picture in the middle,
Maybe similar, maybe a little younger.
is that Calvin
Yeah,
there?
that's Calvin there.
And fishing,
Yeah, Calvin and my sister's son probably. They had to have been 10 or so, maybe even a little younger.
let's see, we're on to page 5. What are we seeing here?
That's the top 2 pictures are Callie and I in Florida 2 years ago. I've taken the opportunity to take the older 2 each at a separate time to Florida when my parents are down there to spend time with them, have some one-on-one time with the kids, just to focus on them and enjoy some time with my parents, enjoy some time with each one of the kids. The bottom one is out on the boat with Kelsey, letting her drive. I'm not sure what that bottom picture is with Calvin. It looks like it actually could be at Jen's parents. Just loving on them.
And
The focus of my life. I mean, it's the kids.
about how old was your daughter in that top picture in Florida?
She had to have been 11, 12 maybe. Yeah.
And then the other top picture on the
That was the
right
same
side.
trip.
The same trip,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And then the boat picture
Yeah, Kelsey looks 3 or 4.
and the bottom picture with Calvin.
He looks pretty young, probably 10.
And moving on to page 6 here, what are these images?
Either Cherry Festival, yeah, it looks like Cherry Festival, 4th of July stuff. He looks, 10 years old or so. Even a little younger in the next picture. That's at the Grand Hotel pool. Kids just love to swim there, and of course love island time. So
And moving on to page 7, there's another group of pictures. What are we looking at here?
getting the Christmas tree. That looks like that could be 4 or 5 years ago with Kelsey, the youngest, maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, 4 or 5 years old. Taking the kids to Michigan games, something they love to do. That's Callie, so that's probably 6 years ago, maybe. That was the day that we went to a football game during the day and a Michigan hockey game at night. And then mowing. The kids love to ride on the mower, help me when they can, just be part of what I'm doing. That's Callie and I 2 years ago coaching her softball team.
Were you were a coach in that picture? You were.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Unless, it was either the year I coached her team or the year before where I coached Calvin's team, but it looks like that's the year that I coached her team.
Okay. And page 8, we've got a couple more pictures here. Can you share what those are?
That top picture is actually in our front yard, our current house, but it was when my grandparents lived there on my grandpa's tractor. Calvin loved that thing. Always wanted to be helping me or riding on the tractor. Bottom picture is Kelsey and I at Pirates Cove.
About how old was Calvin in that picture, that top picture?
He had to have been maybe 2. I bet that was 2010. That was the year my grandpa passed away, so had to have been around that time.
And the bottom picture?
That looks like it's 3 or 4 years ago with Kelsey.
And moving on to page 9, another group of pictures here.
That's Kelsey's birthday party from this past June. the top right is the kids and I, we went on a bike ride on the Boardman Lake Trail. That was maybe August, September of this year. And then Kelsey and I went water skiing this past summer. It probably was August.
Are these pictures, obviously not every time you've ever been with your kids, or are they just examples of some of the stuff that you do with your kids and being around and activities over the years?
Right.
Um, Are you asking the court to award joint physical and legal custody by maintaining the parenting time schedule as set forth in the temporary order today?
Yes, I am.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Lentz, do you have any questions for this witness?
I do. Thank you, Your Honor. May I proceed? All right, Mr. Kloosterman, back in October, you testified that one time you attended a Zoom conference for your children. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's correct that you've never attended an in-person conference for any of your 3 children?
That could be true.
Did you know that earlier this month on November 2nd, your daughter Kelsey had conferences?
Yeah, I'm very well aware of that.
And you didn't attend that, did you?
Jen did.
And Mr. Kloosterman, on November 16th, 2023, your son had conferences, did he not?
Yes, he did.
And you didn't attend that, did you?
No, but I also feel like if
Oh, it's okay. It was just a yes or no answer. And are you aware that Ms. Kloosterman attended both conferences?
Yes. We
On October 18th, your attorney asked you if you had the capacity and disposition to give the children love, affection, and guidance, and you answered in the affirmative. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And on that note, isn't it true that you recently told your 15-year-old son, Kelvin, that his girlfriend's parents think he is, quote, a douchebag?
No, that is false. That is a lie.
And Mr.
I did
Kloosterman,
not say that.
in October of 2023, you testified that you left your previous employment with UPS. Is that correct?
Yes.
Isn't it true that you were actually terminated, fired?
Sure.
Well, it's a yes or no. Were you terminated?
Yes. Yes, because I was doing other things, but yes.
And Ms. Kloosterman, part of your job is snow plowing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so like last night, this morning, good example, that would have been a busy night for you, busy morning.
Just like Jen going to work during the day.
Well, that's not my question. My question was,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I went to work.
and if you were living in your own residence, so without your parents, what would your plan be for the children during the night that you go out and plow or the morning? Are you leaving them home alone?
No.
All right, so what's your plan?
I have people that work for me, they can do it. Or I have my parents, or I have other options.
And previously you testified that the only employee in your company was you, and then your son sometimes helps. And now you're saying you have other employees?
Well, I have people that help me out. I mean, my dad will help me. I have cousins that help me, friends that all kinds of people that are willing to help me make everything happen.
In October, when we were here, your attorney asked you if you have the capacity to provide the children with medical care, and you answered in the affirmative. Is that correct?
Yes.
In August of 2023, did Ms. Kloosterman advise you that one of the children had an eye appointment scheduled during your parenting time?
Yes, but she was actually wrong on the time and the date.
It's okay. I just asked you a yes or no question. You don't have to elaborate. Your attorney can follow up with you on cross or redirect, excuse me. Did you advise Ms. Kloosterman that that appointment time did not work for you?
I don't recall. I remember telling her that she was wrong on the time and the date. because
Did
I called about the appointment.
Did you tell Ms. Klusterman you were going to reschedule the appointment?
I don't recall. I don't recall. I remember the time being the actual time of the appointment was during Jen's parenting time.
And you never rescheduled the appointment though, did you?
I never canceled or never canceled the appointment either, because they told me when that appointment was, and it was during Jen's parenting time.
And earlier today, you testified that during the winter, your work slows down. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you testified that you have more time to take the kids to appointments during the winter. That was your testimony, correct?
Correct.
Yet you've only ever taken the children to one doctor's appointment during the course of your marriage to the plaintiff.
That's not true.
Ms. Klusterman, in October, you testified that you have the capacity to provide the children with guidance. Is that correct?
Correct.
Would you agree that in raising two young girls, promoting body positivity is important to that?
Absolutely.
And would you agree that the way a man speaks to his wife in such regard in front of children is instrumental to the children's guidance in that regard?
Absolutely.
And yet, in front of your children, you told the plaintiff, put clothes on, no one should have to see that.
I don't recall if the kids were there or not. I don't believe they were, but.
And
I
if
don't
they
recall.
were there, that's probably at odds with promoting body positivity, correct?
No, I'm very good with teaching my kids and about body image and being positive about and believe in themselves. So I don't agree with that comment.
And Mr. Klusman, there's been a lot of discussion about the various activities your kids are involved with, hockey being one of them.
Mhm.
Since the temporary order has been in place, are you always timely with getting the children to these events?
Yes.
Isn't it true that this summer during your parenting time, Callie was dropped off 45 minutes late to her championship softball game?
I don't believe it was 45 minutes. And I also believe that was
Okay,
when I,
so if I said, are you always timely? And you said yes. And then I asked you about 45 minutes late. You said, well, it wasn't 45 minutes. So
well,
one
okay,
time.
we can play. Then my mom, I guess, delivered her late. I did not.
Why was your mom doing your parenting time exchange? Or why was your mom transporting
Because
Callie?
my parents are all about helping Jen and I out when it's available.
And on Friday, November 24th, 2023, was Callie brought late to her hockey game in Detroit?
No.
So if Miss Klusterman received a text from Callie's coach asking where Callie was, that would be the
Objection, hearsay.
Callie was on time for the game.
I mean, what the person said would be hearsay. I guess there might not be a foundation for whether he would know about the text either. I don't know. I know that's not the objection, but you
Yeah,
have to take his answer is that she was on time. If you have somebody to suggest that she wasn't,
She was on time for the game.
So
Understood, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Klusterman, you testified earlier about the benefits of having parental controls on phones. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes.
And have you told your son that the plaintiff, Jennifer, should not be allowed to access his phone because you are the one that pays for it?
I've never said that.
And despite
I know he has said that, but I've not said that.
And despite your testimony earlier about the importance of parental controls, as of today's date, have you put any restrictions on Calvin's phone?
Jen is in charge of those restrictions.
So
and we communicate about those restrictions.
But you have not put any on Calvin's phone.
Jen's in charge of that.
Jen's in charge of a lot of things when it comes to your kids. Fair statement?
So am I.
Mr. Klusterman, would it be fair to say that there is tension between your parents and Miss Klusterman?
No.
So despite the issue you testified to earlier, you'd say there's no tension between Jen and your parents?
I think it's more awkward than tension. I don't think there's tension.
Okay, so awkward. There's an awkwardness between Jen and your
Well,
parent?
I think that's pretty common in a divorce.
I didn't ask if it was common, just asking for your specific
They have
situation.
no ill will towards Jen.
And Mr. Klusterman, the ex parte personal protection order issued by this court, it allowed parenting time exchanges through a neutral third party. From your perspective, what does the word neutral mean?
Could you repeat that?
What does the word neutral mean to you?
I guess maybe like maybe not Jen's parents, not my parents, but a friend of both of us, per se. Maybe that would be a good example.
So when you sent your mom over to the marital residence to pick up the children after the PPO was issued, she's not neutral, right?
What day was this?
The day so Sunday.
Oh, that Sunday. Well, but I didn't know about a neutral party.
But
I didn't even know about a PPO
party.
on that day.
Well, you were served with the PPO on that day.
After my mom went to get the kids.
Okay, but you'd agree she's not a neutral party.
But that was
objection. I mean, she's asking him to interpret the court's order. I think it's very commonly known in this court that neutral means not one of the two parties.
Your Honor, I'm asking him to interpret it based on the definition he just gave, which said not our parents.
I believe his initial testimony was parents, family, friend.
No, he said neither one of our parents, a mutual friend.
I think he can testify as to whether he thinks his parents are neutral or not. I mean, I'm not sure what bearing it will have on anything, but I think he can answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, maybe my parents aren't neutral party, but again, I didn't even know about the PPO when my mom and sister went to pick up the kids.
And Mr. Klusterman, back in October, you testified, I think you've reinforced it today, that you were too afraid about violating the PPO, so you didn't exercise your parenting time until you could talk to your attorney. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you made the decision to forego your parenting time that weekend, correct?
Which weekend?
After the PPO was served, in between the time you could talk to your attorney.
Yes.
And back on October 18th, 2023, you testified that you didn't know what Our Family Wizard was. Is that correct?
That is correct.
After speaking with your attorney, did you become aware of what Our Family Wizard was?
Yes.
When you downloaded the app, did you see multiple communications from Ms. Klusterman trying to arrange parenting time with you?
Yes.
So it wouldn't really be fair to hold Ms. Klusterman accountable for your lack of knowledge about Our Family Wizard, would it?
I believe it is.
And Mr. Klusterman, on Friday, June 30th, 2023, so the Friday before you were served with this PPO, did your son text you that the police came to the house looking for you?
Objection, hearsay as to, statements of the child.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor. Mr. Klusterman, on Friday,
yeah, otherwise sustained.
Yeah. Mr. Klusterman, on Friday, June 30th, 2023, did you receive a text indicating the police were
Objection,
looking?
hearsay. She already indicated she knows the text from the son. She's trying to get away from it by restating the question without saying it was Kelvin. It's still hearsay because it wasn't from Miss Klusterman.
I think he can testify if he received a text about the police looking for him. I'm not saying did you receive a text?
It's still hearsay.
Well, I mean, in this circumstance, we know it was the son because you mentioned that, Ms. Lentz. Otherwise, I wouldn't know who sent it. If he has knowledge of whether the police were looking for him is a different way to ask, but that's not the way the question was phrased, and I agree with Ms. Schmelzer at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will rephrase. Mr. Klusterman, did you receive notification that the police were looking for you on Friday?
I think that's the same.
Objection.
I agree. That's not what I said. You can ask him if he had knowledge the police were looking for him. He can say yes or no. I mean, that's all. Otherwise, you are just, in this context, we know it was the son, and we know you're asking about whether his son texted him about him true, what you're trying to present as a true statement. Okay, that's
Oh, wait.
that's what I believe.
I guess what I want to
Not
ask is,
clear.
were you aware the police were looking for you on Friday?
And I'm going to object again to hearsay because at this point, we now know that she's questioning about a text message that was purportedly sent by the son as the foundation for his knowledge.
I still think he could answer if he knows whether they were. We're not going to get into how.
I don't agree with the word looking. They weren't looking for me.
So, I mean, sometimes the answer clarifies it too, so it's not all objectionable. I mean,
They weren't looking for me. That's not even the first time I had talked to them.
So did you have communication with the police before that?
Yeah, they had stopped by the house just to see how I was doing. That happened a couple of times.
Well, I'm
But
talking
I
about.
don't agree with the comment that I got a text saying they were looking for me. That's not true.
Okay, so you had no knowledge the police were trying to communicate with you on that weekend, Friday, June 30th.
If I remember correctly, Calvin said the police stopped by, but they would stop back to talk to me.
So you're aware then that the police are
I
looking.
can strike that state. I mean, if you want, Ms. Schultz, I don't want to get into what the child said. What his answer qualifies under what the previous objection was. Okay, so it's not something that the court. I'm not going to consider this in my decision whether the child told him anything. So whether that was stated or not on the record, it's not going to be part of this court's decision. I don't know how else to clarify it. It's a bench trial, so it's not something I have to advise somebody about. I will just not consider it. That's the way it works.
Sounds good. All right. So you acknowledge though something was going on with the police.
No, I don't think I could say that something was going on. They had stopped to talk to me to see if I was okay.
All right, Mr. Klusterman, on October 18th, 2023, you were asked about your capacity to provide the children with clothing, and you testified that you can do that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you recently purchase a $275 coat for your minor child?
Yes.
Did you ask
With the understanding that it was not 275?
Sorry, I'm talking here. Just a yes or no answer.
No.
So you didn't. So are you changing your answer?
Well, you're wrong on the price. I did not buy it. Did not spend that much money.
Oh wait, how much money did you spend?
It was like $220.
All right, so $50 difference. Thank you for making that point.
I mean, we're in the ballpark. We're in the ballpark.
Did you ask the plaintiff if she was agreeable to that price of $220 before you purchased it?
No, but she had said that.
Oh, that's okay. Just a yes or no answer. And so after you purchased the coat, did you ask her to reimburse you for half the cost?
Yes.
And did she reimburse you?
No.
Mr. Glusterman, because she would not reimburse you for half the cost, on Sunday, November 19th, 2023, did you initially refuse to send the coat with the child to the parenting time exchange? It's a yes or no answer.
Yes.
Okay. And when Ms. Klusterman asked for the old coat so that the child had some form of winter gear, did you also refuse initially to provide the old coat to her? Again,
No.
it's a yes or no answer.
No.
Mr. Klusterman, based on your action in not giving her this coat, would it be fair to say you care more about sticking it to the
Objection. He just said he didn't refuse to provide the old coat. So
the new coat?
Yeah. If you could restate the question, please.
So
Let her please ask the question.
So based on your action, you didn't give her the new coat, and it's because she wouldn't split the cost with you. Would it be fair to say you care more about sticking it to Jen than your child having adequate clothing?
That's not why I didn't send the coat.
So did your mom subsequently leave both coats on the plaintiff's front porch late in the evening on Sunday, November 19th?
Yes.
So then why did the old coat not make it back when plaintiff asked for it initially?
Jen had sent me a message saying that she wanted the coat to give to our friend Gracie. She never stated that Kelsey would wear it. It was too small for Kelsey. Kelsey showed me that it wouldn't even zip close. when Jen said, please send the coat and I'll give it to Gracie, I said, I can just give it to Gracie. I can't say what Kelsey told me why she wanted the coat left at our house.
And Ms. Glusman, in October, you testified about a Polar Express field trip that you attended. Do you recall that?
Yes, when the kids were at Sutton Bay.
Isn't it true that that's the only field trip you've ever attended?
I don't believe so, no.
Ms. Klusterman, you testified a lot about these emails that you received from the school and that you love getting them. They're super great. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And isn't it true that Ms. Klusterman is the one that signs you up for those emails every year?
No.
Mr. Klusterman, would it be fair to say that you have a problem controlling your anger?
No.
All right, I'm gonna have you watch some exhibits which were previously admitted. The first of it is going to be Exhibit 1.
If they're previously admitted, we don't need to rewatch them. We've already watched them.
All right, Mr. Klusterman.
I would agree with that. I mean, they're admitted, so I mean, you can talk about them, but unless there's something that we're disputing about it at this point, we probably don't need to go over them again. I will review all admitted exhibits if that's helpful to everyone.
Understood, Your Honor. Mr. Klusterman, we watched a series of videos in October. A lot of them you were yelling at your children. I believe one of them you said, "Don't play me, you little shit, you little shit. Oh, I never get what I want. I'm going to cry." And all of these videos, you're yelling, your voice is elevated. So after being reminded of those videos, would it still be your position that you don't have a problem controlling your anger?
I can control my anger, yes.
Do you think that responding to your children in that manner is you controlling your anger?
Yes.
And was your anger out of control when you punched the plaintiff in the face in 2019?
That never happened.
You were prosecuted initially for it, though?
Not for punching her in the face. No, I don't like your choice of words there, but that's the wrong choice of words.
And Mr. Klusterman, on October 18th, 2023, you testified a lot about how you were afraid of Ms. Klusterman videotaping you. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And would it be fair to say that after someone gets, we'll say, hit in the face, that videotaping to ensure it doesn't happen again would be a reasonable response?
I think the timing is questionable.
And Mr. Klusterman, you testified a lot about money being a problem in your marriage. Is that correct?
Yes, very much so.
And would it be fair for me to say that during your marriage, you felt that you paid for everything?
No, not 100%. There were things that Jen paid for.
And you're aware that any income earned during a marriage is marital funds, joint income?
Absolutely. Jen and I worked together on those.
So you both paid for things during your marriage?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mr. Klusterman, you've testified a lot about your son, Calvin, that he's an amazing person. You're super proud of him. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
And over the various videos we can hear you calling Calvin things such as little punk, jerk, and little shit. I think earlier you testified that you called him an ass. That's not really indicative of someone who cares super deeply for their children, is it?
I don't know. I don't agree with that.
And Mr. Klusterman, during these proceedings, did you tell your son Calvin that he can choose where he wants to spend his time?
Like his time between Jen and I?
Correct.
No, I never told him that.
Mr. Klusterman, you say things that you don't mean a lot. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
Well, for example, earlier today, you were questioned about a text message that you wrote to plaintiff on April 21st, 2023. And the specific text was, "The phone has caused so many addiction issues." Do you recall that testimony from earlier today?
Yes, I do.
And then your testimony today on that was, I don't really have addiction issues. I have friends, is what you called them. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So then why say it to plaintiff in the first place?
To calm a situation. I was at that point, I was trying to not get divorced.
So you were lying to the
No.
plaintiff?
No.
And in October of 2023, when we were here earlier, there was a video in which you said that church was a waste of time. Do you recall that video?
Yes.
When you were questioned about it, you said, I didn't really mean that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So again, here you're saying another thing where saying one thing outside of court, when you get in front of the judge, you're changing your story, correct?
No.
How can we really believe anything you've said when there's a consistent pattern of you saying things you don't mean?
That's not, if there is a pattern, that's not true.
On October 18th or 17th, not sure which day, but we watched a video in which you told your son he was uncoachable and that the hockey coaches wouldn't get talent out of him. And then again, you've testified today about how proud you are of him.
Absolutely.
Which statement is true? The one in the video about him being uncoachable, or the one that you said today in front of referee Hagan?
I think there's times that any kid could be uncoachable, but when he makes changes, then he is coachable and works hard. So I think both of those things could be true.
Mr. Klusterman, you've testified a lot about with your involvement with the kids. I'm going to have you look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 45, which was previously admitted. Your Honor, counsel, would you like me to screen share, or would you like to look at it in front of you?
I'll leave that to you all. Just as long as he can see it, as it's really Mr. Klusterman's preference, to be honest.
Sure. All right, Mr. Klusterman, so you're looking at Exhibit 45. In this text message with the plaintiff, she's providing you some information about volleyball, booster club, and you write back, I don't give a crap about any of it, just do your thing. Would it be safe to say that Miss Klusterman's thing during your marriage was arranging all of the logistics for the family as it pertains to the children's activities?
No, a booster meeting has nothing to do with the children.
And what about the volleyball email from above that?
I guess I don't know what that text means or is in relation to volleyball email. I'm asking about. It looks like I'm asking about a volleyball email.
And Mr. Klusterman, isn't it true that your involvement with the children as of recently is due to the temporary order and it's not a voluntary choice on your part?
Absolutely not.
And earlier today, your attorney asked you a question about if parents were requested to attend a meeting at school, would you go? And you responded with, yeah, or I'd get the information from Jen. Is that correct?
That is correct, but
So most of the time, is it safe to say that Miss Klusterman gave you the information and you didn't go?
Didn't go. That's one time.
I'm just saying,
one time.
Generally, would you attend meetings at school, or would Miss Klusterman attend and tell you about them?
We can say Jen attended. I never felt the need for both of us to attend. When you have 3 kids, you divide and conquer. I'm not going to leave 2 kids home and both go to a meeting.
Mr. Klusterman, in regard to the PPO that was in place, you testified that you didn't go to the children's sporting events out of a fear for violating the PPO. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you're aware that the PPO had no bearing on your ability to attend a public event?
I didn't know right away, and then I was advised not to.
So you not attending the children's events after the issuance with the PPO, that was your choice, right?
No, it was not my choice right away, not until I got clarification.
Okay, so after you got clarification and you're like, okay, the PPO doesn't prevent me from being at the public event, you still voluntarily chose not to go.
Correct. For my safety.
In October, you testified that your communication with Miss Klusterman has been good as of recently. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's up and down. We struggle at times.
And at the time you made this statement, isn't it true that you were sending Miss Klusterman a daily countdown of how many days she had until she needed to get out of the marital house?
I don't recall that. No,
You don't recall texting her every day a
I don't
count.
recall it being every day. No.
And earlier today, you testified that you hope to have a check to Miss Klusterman sometime next week. Is that correct?
I mean, as soon as I get it, she will get it.
So in October, when you were sending Miss Klusterman these countdown messages, you were nowhere close to having her payment to her, were you?
It's been a little more of a struggle than what I was hoping it would be.
And Mr. Klusterman, did you send Miss Klusterman a message saying you'll find out how small your circle really is?
Yep.
Did you call Miss Klusterman a pathetic human via OFW?
Yes, I did. Only after she attacks me.
Would it be fair to say that the communication between you and Miss Klusterman is not really good?
I would actually say it's fairly good until she just attacks me over something, and then I just get upset because the things that she's going after me about are just her games, just tired of her games. Like, let's get along and do what's best for our children.
And Mr. Klusterman, the plaintiff recently stayed at your cousin's home in Muskegon, is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you call your cousin after this and reprimand him for allowing Miss Klusterman to stay there?
I did not.
Mr. Klusterman, you understand that despite the outcome of this case, you're going to have to co-parent with the plaintiff for years, correct?
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
So it wouldn't be a bad thing for Miss Klusterman to have a good relationship with your parents, would it?
No, I hope we get to that point. Again, when the games stop, we will get there.
And Mr. Klusterman, you testified today that you are not romantically involved with a third party. That was your testimony, correct?
That is correct.
Isn't it true that you send text messages to a woman named Danielle Clayton with the words, "I love you" on a frequent basis?
I send many of my friends that text, but
I'm
on a frequent
asking
basis,
about
no.
this specific person.
On a frequent basis, no.
And Mr. Klusterman, is Danielle Clayton one of the people, I believe the term you used was friends, that you referenced in terms of your addiction text message?
Yes, Miss Clayton is one of my close friends.
And do you admit today that you're having an emotional affair with Miss Clayton?
Objection relevancy? I mean, the parties have been separated for months, and just with objection relevancy.
Your Honor, I think it goes to, he says he's not romantically involved with someone, and all these actions.
Actually, the question I asked him was romantically involved with someone that he's interfacing with the children, and his answer was no.
I don't think your question had the connotation interfacing with the children attached to it.
It did, but again, the issue is the kids.
Yeah, I mean, I would only allow it to the extent that it's you're building foundation to asking about whether it affects his ability to parent. That's all.
Understood, Your Honor. I'll withdraw it. Mr. Klusterman, on September 16th, 2023, did you allow Danielle Clayton to take 2 of your children to Grand Rapids for the whole day?
Sure did.
So you involved this person in your parenting time, correct?
The Clayton's 2 daughters are close friends with our 2 daughters.
I'm not asking about their daughters, though. I'm asking about this person.
I'm not going to let them go to Grand Rapids without an adult.
Why didn't you take them to Grand Rapids?
Because they got invited by their friends.
And Mr. Klusterman, you testified earlier today that one of the only reasons you would miss the children's games was for work. Is that correct?
I don't miss. I said I don't miss games for work.
Okay, so you wouldn't miss the children's games if you were able to go.
I always make sure I can be there when it's feasible.
And yet on July 10th, 2023, you skipped one of your children's games to go to Mackinac Island with Danielle Clayton. Is that correct?
No, I don't believe that to be correct.
You were not on Mackinac Island on July 10th, 2023.
I don't recall.
And Mr. Klusman, multiple times today you have referenced that you try not to involve the children in adult conversations. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yet you took it upon yourself to tell the children that you and the plaintiff were getting a divorce without Ms. Klusterman present. Is that correct?
They were
It's a
witnesses
yes or
under.
no answer.
I don't recall.
So you're telling me you don't recall taking the children to Culver's and telling them all at a table at Culver's that you and Ms. Klusterman were getting divorced without her present? That's just not in your
I don't
memory.
know if I used the word divorce, but yeah, I do recall having a conversation with them.
Okay, so now you remember after I
Well,
brought.
I mean, they saw me visibly upset. Yes.
And you're aware that Ms. Klusterman asked you to wait so you guys could tell them together?
I don't recall her asking me that now.
Okay. And Mr. Klusterman, you brought up an incident that occurred in December of 2022 between you and Ms. Klusterman. Is that correct?
The Christmas Eve incident?
Yep.
Yes.
So your version of that event left out some details. Fair statement?
No.
Isn't it true that you called Ms. Klusterman an effing C word before the incident?
No.
Isn't it true that you spit in her face before this incident?
Absolutely not. I would never do that.
And Mr. Klusterman, you testified today that Jen's the teacher, school is her world, and that you follow her direction in this area. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So it would be appropriate for the children to live primarily with Ms. Klusterman during the school year, would it not?
Absolutely not.
Mr. Klusterman, you testified that you believe the plaintiff and her family are trying to bribe the children. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Didn't you recently promise your 15-year-old son a brand new Tacoma for his 16th birthday?
No.
And didn't you recently buy your daughter a $220 coat?
I believe that she deserves to be warm in the winter months.
Would it be fair to say that the coat in that regard is kind of like you calling the pot black, hot and kettle situation? You say Jen's family's doing the bribing, you're buying expensive gifts.
I was expecting Jen to pay half, so then it would be the same thing as far as Jen.
But you never asked her to pay half before you purchased it.
She agreed to pay half. She never gave me.
You testified you never asked her.
She never gave me she agreed to pay for half the coat. We never agreed on a price.
Well, do you see how that could be problematic if you went out and purchased it? Okay. Mr. Klusman, you testified earlier. You're good.
Hang on. Okay. One
Yes.
question, answer. If he's answering, please don't interrupt him. If she's asking a question, please do not keep
Well,
talking.
he's not answering my questions. He's elaborating, and it's a yes or no answer. So that's why I am interrupting him.
I'm not giving that instruction. Ms. Schmelzer is. I'm not sure why she's giving that instruction.
Because I'm asking my client to please answer the question that's asked.
But if Ms. Lynch
Right,
wants him
what
to
she's asking.
elaborate, he can. If she doesn't, then you can follow up on redirect. So I disagree with the instruction you gave your client.
It was
Not to interrupt him.
I was asking my client to please stop talking over opposing
Yeah,
counsel. That was a direction to my client.
All right, Mr. Klusterman, you testified earlier today that you never say bad things about the plaintiff in front of the children. That's not true, is it?
I don't know. It is true.
Isn't it true that you called the plaintiff a liar in front of the children?
I don't recall. I mean,
And you asked her to take a psych evaluation in front of the children, didn't you?
no, I don't believe that was not in front of the children. I would not do that.
Did you call her a whack job in front of the children?
No, I would not have that conversation in front of the children.
And Mr. Klusterman, in October, we watched a video, Plaintiff's Exhibit 14. It's already been admitted into evidence, and so I won't play it again now. But during that video, you call the plaintiff crazy and that she sucks, and there's children present in the area. So is it still your testimony that you never talk bad about the plaintiff in front of the kids?
I mean, they could be in the area, but I doubt they heard. They were close enough to hear.
Okay, so you just talk negatively
It's
about the
possible.
plaintiff.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
You're fine. Mr. Klusman, you testified earlier about a softball game that Miss Klusterman said something inappropriate to your mom. Do you recall that?
Absolutely.
And your mom was sitting with someone, is that correct?
Absolutely.
That person was this Danielle Clayton we just talked about, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you testified earlier about some incident in Florida that happened at a pool table where Miss Klusterman said something inappropriate. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Isn't it true that statement was made after you kissed another woman on the trip?
That never happened.
And Mr. Klusman, when you were questioned about factor K, domestic violence, you said that you try to stay calm and leave the situation. That's your MO, is that correct?
Absolutely.
And again, I'm having issue. We've watched several videos now where you're screaming. So do you only scream at the kids and you stay calm with Miss Klusterman? Is that how it goes?
No, that's not true.
Mr. Klusman, I want to understand your earlier testimony correctly. You think it's funny to respond to a health concern of one of your minor children conveyed by the plaintiff to you with the message, "as soon as you deep throat me." That was your testimony earlier?
Yes.
Funny, okay. And you testified earlier that you never condition things for the children on sexual favors, is that correct?
I never condition.
Like for example, and this is a hypothetical, this is not if the children needed food, you never say, "Oh, Miss Klusterman, you have to give me a sexual favor in order to get that for the kids."
No.
Okay, so what about this Lake Ann situation that we saw in an earlier exhibit where Miss Klusterman is asking you for money to put the kids to Lake Ann camp and you're requesting sexual favors?
Okay.
Are we looking at a specific exhibit?
I'm looking at exhibit 32.
I may have a moment, please. Okay. I'm going to object to that question. There is no sexual favor requested in this exhibit.
That's fine, Your Honor. I'll withdraw my question. Mr. Klusman, looking at exhibit 32, I don't know if you have it in front of you. You text the plaintiff, "What do I get if I pay for Lake Ann and buy you sandals?" She doesn't respond, so you say, "Guess nothing." She doesn't respond, so you give a thumbs up. And you text her again, "What are you trying to get here? What do I get if I pay for Lake Ann and sandals?"
Some attention from Jen, some alone time with Jen.
Okay, so then you follow up with anything on the table. Same answer, alone time, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I love spending time with Jen.
All right, so let's keep going. At 2:17, you say nothing, question mark. Again, she's not responding. 2:17 p.m., you say, "Like, see your boobs or something." All right, so are we saying that you never condition anything for the kids on getting a sexual picture from Miss Klusterman? Nothing like that.
Yeah, I don't think that involves the kids. I mean, it's mostly play.
Okay,
never.
so Lake Ann, though, is for the children, right?
If Jen were to say no, it's not like I would say, "Okay, he can't go."
Okay,
Never.
but the conversation you're having there is Lake Ann is for the children, and she's trying to get the children enrolled in Lake Ann, is it not?
Yeah, but again,
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Fine. Mr. Klusman, earlier you were asked about hockey and kind of like a bad language, locker room talk situation. Do you recall that testimony?
Yep, I do.
And during that, you admitted to calling Calvin an ass. Is that correct?
I think that actually was to Jen and not to Calvin in a text.
Okay, so you're changing your earlier testimony?
Well,
Are we talking about a specific exhibit?
Yes, if you give me one moment to locate it, please.
I thought we were also talking about his testimony from today.
I thought he had testified that he did call the child that, which is what I was referring to, but it appears now we're switching our story a little bit, so.
Well, I mean, I recall that I was questioning him about a specific exhibit. So if we can point to that exhibit, we can talk about it. I was asking for the reference.
Okay, I think it's exhibit 55. I appreciate everyone's patience. Okay, so I'm looking at exhibit 55, Mr. Klusterman. Again, I'm talking about your testimony from earlier in regard to this. Ms. Klusterman writes to you, "We will have a chat tomorrow. Still not worth calling him an ass." And you testified earlier that you did call Calvin an ass. Does that refresh your memory?
I'm not seeing where that is.
I'm on page 2 of exhibit 55, February 28th, 2023. Or sorry, page 2.
Oh, okay, I see. I'm not sure if that was Jen. I'm not sure if I called him an ass to him or to Jen. I don't recall that conversation.
Okay. When we asked you about this earlier, or when you
Well,
were asked,
sorry.
okay, so when you were asked about this earlier by your own attorney, you kind of negated responsibility by saying Miss Klusterman also swears around the kids. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you think there's a difference between using a swear word in the presence of children and calling your child an ass? You think those are two different things?
I think anytime they're used is wrong.
And Mr. Klusterman, you testified earlier that the plaintiff is very bad with money. Do you recall saying that?
Absolutely. Yet
for years, you let the plaintiff run the books for Klusterman Outdoor Services. Did you not?
I wouldn't call what we did running the books, no.
Okay, so for years, you let Ms. Klusterman have access to the KOS bank account, correct?
Absolutely.
In fact, until these proceedings started, you didn't even know the login information for that bank account, did you?
I probably not, no.
Okay, so someone that's super bad with money, you're just letting her have unbridled access to this account, correct?
She's my wife. That's our money.
Mr. Klusterman, throughout this case, you've taken a lot of issue with like the date on some of plaintiff's exhibits. Like there's been questions like, oh, is it strange that she's bringing this up from 2015, 2014, correct? You've recalled that?
Yes.
Yeah, the exhibit that you just had admitted, Defendant's Exhibit A, contains various pictures dating all the way back to 2009, correct?
Okay.
Okay, so is your position that this court should disregard plaintiff's exhibits that date back years, but consider your exhibits that date back years?
I think pictures of my kids and I are different than texts, but
okay, so you're making a distinction there. And Mr. Klusterman, isn't it true that plaintiff took 19 of the 25 pictures displayed in your exhibit?
I don't know. I can't take them myself.
So in all those 19 incidences, the plaintiff was also present with the children?
Yeah, she's my wife.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.